it is sometimes, especially towards the end of the year, if you teach older kiddos like upperclassmen, sometimes getting their butt in a seat in your class is a struggle in and of itself. If they feel like they're gonna miss out on something that's gonna be fun or interesting or just like part of the community that you've built, they're probably gonna be there more likely. Classroom. My name is Marie and I'm a high school English teacher from San Diego, California. If this is your first time here, welcome. Please take a second and click that subscribe button. You are watching one of my weekly teacher tip happy hour videos where I give you 3 actionable tips to make your week a little bit easier, get you into the weekend a little bit more seamlessly, and just kind of make things go smoother, you know what I mean? Today, we are talking about one of my absolute favorite parts of teaching, and it's classroom community. And I have 3 really easy ways that you can start using today or tomorrow to build community in your classroom. So let's get into it. This one's gonna be quick and to the point. Ow! If you follow me on Instagram or if you've seen my classroom setup videos here on my channel, you know that I have a classroom that is not particularly conventional or traditional for a high school classroom especially. I have it all decked out and it kind of looks like a coffee shop in here, and that is very much by design. So if you want to know a little bit more about that, I will link both in the iCard up above and down in the description box below some videos that you can look at just to get some of my ideas and my research and my philosophy behind the way that I have designed my room to meet student learning needs. But all of that has to do with, once again, my favorite part, one of my very favorite parts of teaching, which is classroom community. I think there's something so amazing about the unique, like small town feel of every single class when that happens. It's so magical, and it is possible to have that happen with every single class, to have that like actual unique community within the like walls of your classroom from the first bell to the last bell of class. It's just a whole different little world that we have ourselves in, and it is a little bit more difficult now with more social media than when I first started teaching, and with more like access to technology, and students can communicate with the outside world a lot easier than they used to be able to. Like when I was in high school, there's no such thing as text messaging, but it's still something that's possible to build that's unique to each and every class. So let's talk about it a little bit, shall we? My very first tip to building a community within your classroom is to start every single day with some sort of a conversation, some sort of a discussion, some sort of a sharing, something where students are, quite frankly, forced to talk to each other and to talk to you. I mean, many teachers, we consider ourselves like amateur stand-up comedians because we are entertainers. Like, we're up there, and I mean, if you've seen my earlier video about like down with the myth of the teacher clown, I don't think that our only job is to entertain, but we're definitely here to be engaging and to like get students motivated and like energize them to learn. That's absolutely part of our job, but it's also part of their job. And so if you can get them to buy in from the first like 3 or 4 minutes of class, I like to start with a journal entry, a bell ringer, something that's either really practical, like maybe it's a grammar exercise, and then they share their answers with each other, and then they share out as to like why and how the correct answer is correct. Maybe it's a creative writing, like story starter sort of a thing, and it's really silly. I like to do things like, and then my pet rocks are the funniest thing, ... and then they have to like fill it in within 3 minutes. They share with each other, and then somebody from each group shares out. Little things like that. They get the conversation going so that then when it comes time to share like deep critical thinking sorts of things, it's easier. It's not as scary. And it's something that I try to use every single day. Sometimes I'm more successful than others. Some weeks I'm more successful than others at doing my bell ringers and my journal entries every day, but I'm trying to get back into it. It is really like such an easy thing to do. Just take like 5 minutes, beginning to end. There you go. Okay, tip number 2 to building classroom community is to use grouping and seating strategically. And I don't necessarily mean by, I am not a proponent of grouping by like ability and skill level. I'm more of a proponent of grouping by behavior and behavior in class. I try to spend the first few days of my class with whatever the new mix of students is, and I just watch them. I let them sit wherever until I have to move them if it's a behavior problem. And I watch them and I get to know them as best I can by observing the first few days. And then I try to group students where I think that they will be comfortable. speaking to each other, and where I think that they'll be a little bit challenged to meet people that they haven't necessarily interacted with, at least in my, observation in those first few days. Within those little groups, I also like to use those groups strategically to form small communities within the larger classroom community, and they form like little clans or tribes or troops or whatever you want to call them. I've done things where they name themselves, they make themselves a constitution, they elect a leader, they have certain rules and guidelines that they like live and die by, and there's just something like so silly about that little entity of having a small group. It makes some of the like procedural things of the classroom easier. I have very large classes, they're in the 40s. Makes attendance easier because I can just ask each like group leader, okay, who's missing? It also does things like distributing Chromebooks or other sorts of materials or texts. They can send up one representative from each group, can come up, take care. It makes things a little bit more efficient, but then it also just makes students responsible for one another, and they start to build a camaraderie that they wouldn't necessarily do if it was just like a regular seating group, if that makes any sense. Okay, my third tip is to play. Just play. Have some fun. Take 10 minutes out of your class, or take 5 minutes out of your class and play games. Play silly name games, which I abhor, but they're still good for building community and letting students feel like they belong. I like to play a game called I'm a Person Who. You sit everybody in a circle. Sometimes this works better if like you have a really open space, but you put enough chairs in a circle that there are enough chairs for every single person in the circle except for one, and that person is in the middle, and that person says, I am a person who, and they say something to describe themselves, likes to see action movies. Anybody else who is also that person and who is willing to share that about themselves stands up and tries to find another seat within the circle. Whoever is last is the next I'm a Person Who, and they go, and I play. And sometimes I will volunteer myself as tribute if it's a student who's having a particularly hard time, and sometimes I will be cutthroat and I will be like, move out of my way, or I might accidentally push you. Look out, kids. Okay, not really, I don't like push kids, but like, I push them with my eyes, I want them to know, like, I'm playing for keeps here. The other thing that's fun is just like easy set up and break down minute to win it games. Things if you have like plastic spoons and ping pong balls and they have to do a relay. Just things to get students working together, moving physically, and doing something that's completely different from your normal like class functioning. Will do those little things. It's shared experiences. It helps them build community, and it helps them feel like they belong and they're connected. And it also encourages students to come to class. Like, let's not kid ourselves. High school teachers, you're with me. It is sometimes, especially towards the end of the year, if you teach older kiddos, like upperclassmen, sometimes getting their butt in a seat in your class is a struggle in and of itself. If they feel like they're gonna miss out on something that's gonna be fun or interesting or just like part of the community that you've built, they're probably gonna be there more likely. So there you have it. Those are my 3 top strategies or tips for building a community in your classroom. I have many more ideas like this that are included in the course that I'm opening, New Teacher Bootcamp. One of the modules of this course is all about building classroom community, because like I said, it is a passion of mine. If you're interested in that, if you are a newer teacher in your first, 5-ish years of teaching, I think that this course could really, really help you find that balance that we are all looking for in a work life, and be the teacher that you want to be and be peaceful and calm and all of those things. If that is something that interests you, please check the link down below for more information. Thank you so much for stopping by. I will see you guys next time. Have a great weekend.